super important that whenever we go through a transition, a change in our life, that we honor the transition, because life works in life, death, rebirth, life, death, rebirth, life, death, and rebirth. The menstrual cycle teaches us this on a very, very physical, practical level. Life is always in transition. Everything is temporary, right? And also, like, I don't believe that death exists. Death is a construct, because death and life, they go hand in hand. And unfortunately, we've been taught in our society to fear death, to fear change. And so we don't know how to honor death. We don't know how to honor the process of change and transition. And so we have to make space for the death process. But we can only make space for that when we choose to actively let go. And so when we choose to when we do go through a death process, we often don't choose to. This is just how life initiates us. The cycles initiate us into our next level. We have to get clear on what are we releasing. Because when we go through a death process, we are leaving stuff behind. We are leaving parts of ourselves behind that can no longer come forward with us into the next chapter of our lives. And those parts of us, they served our past, but they're no longer needed in the future. And so we have to get super clear on, like, what are we releasing? What are we working with? And, like, what are we releasing to make space for, what are we calling in, right? And so it's super important that we create ritual and ceremony and, like, work with this energy of death and letting go. And resisting the death process is just a waste of time, because it's going to come sooner or later. Like, life is always in transition. You're never static. You're never stagnant. And actually, when things get stagnant, that's when they start to go wrong, because, like, the stagnant energy can't flow, and then you're no longer growing, and you're stuck and confused and lost and blah, blah, blah. Like, you need to make space for death. And forming a healthy relationship with death is going to be a really powerful, empowering, important part of growing and of the life cycle of being a human. We've been taught to fear death. We've been taught to fear change. But actually, the only constant is change. And so when we can embrace change and embrace death as a natural part of life, it empowers us to move forward with grace and ease and into our rebirth. Because the most exciting part about the death is the rebirth, okay? And, like, yes, death is never easy. Like, breakups are hard, letting go of people, moving on, like, change. It's not easy. Of course, it's uncomfortable for the human mind, but for the soul, it's, like, fucking natural. It's just the ego that's fighting back. And so I always say, can you let your soul drive the car and set the ego in the back seat? You just embrace the change, embrace the process, and look forward to the rebirth. Because actually, there's a lot of excitement to look forward to with the rebirth. There's curiosity, there's creativity. Like, the unknown is scary, but it's also amazing, because with the unknown, anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. And so can you have excitement and creativity and joy around the rebirth process and going into the unknown?